I've been visiting with the mean girl in my head this month. The bitch has been exceptionally cruel, and it was my job to make her feel safe enough that she could stay and howl when she needed to. Hey, I'm inside the spring equinox right now and tipping suddenly towards the light. It always happens so suddenly here. It's like a shock every year, and I love it. All my moments up till now nourish what comes next. Every single one of them. Every single one of them, as it is for all of us. And this last month, one of my sisters sent me a photo of some veggie prints, like with the end of a bunch of celery, and said, "What could you do with this?" So it was like a little, a silly little challenge, and it took me back to kindergarten days. Didn't we all do potato printing or something like that? And anyway, so I did it, and it was wonderfully symbolic, because the more that that the bunch but withered, the closer to a bud were the flowers that it printed for me on the paper. And it just felt like this wonderfully spiraling decay to feed and nourish the thing that would flourish next. And, that's the way of it, isn't it? And anyway, it was just lovely. So that's the process I'm going to show you in this time, is the making of the art piece that came out of that. And I've called it the Unexpected Rose Arbor. And there were times through this when I began to get precious. I do that. I think artists typically do that, especially when they get more than halfway through, or there's a fear that kicks in and says the next thing you do is going to ruin this beautiful thing. Like, I look at it and I can appreciate it, the stripped down bareness of just the watercolor on the page. It was ethereal and gorgeous, but I didn't need ethereal and gorgeous with what I was working through. I needed more. I needed to know what lay behind the ethereal gorgeousness, that mask that I project. I needed to get raw and a little bit bloody this time. I wrote my last newsletter a couple of days ago. It hasn't gone out yet. I've got to schedule that. And I've talked about strength and vulnerability. But I think it's more like strength in vulnerability for me, is what I was working through. Because I have tended to go into situations, only situations that I knew that would be successful or not show me in a bad light. And if I started to feel like it was showing me in a bad light, I would begin to pretend that I knew more than I did, because being stupid is like the blackest sin that I could have. Being uneducated is a fate worse than death. Being unable to justify my position means attack is coming. And so all of these kinds of little moments in my history have created wounds. And so my inner bitch is ferocious. Like, I have nurtured her and she has kept me safe. And this piece took me through that, took me into her, where she came out fully howling and cruel. Like, she's cruel. And of course she's a reflection of me, because if I ever unleashed myself, my anger, that deep well of resentment, and I would decimate. And I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that to tap into my innate power and strength. I just need to ground and root myself. So instead of turning away from that bitch, I've been inviting her in closer. And I want her to feel so safe that she can stay and she doesn't need to hide. And she can feel so safe and welcome. And she can howl whenever she wants and know that that's okay. So that's what this little piece has ended up being about. So you'll see lots of layers. Some that I thought completely ruined the piece. And then when I thought I'd finished, I just let it sit to the side for a few days. It was at this point that I felt really exposed, and my bitch came up and was really, really trying to get me to fucking stop. Just stop. I don't know what this is. It feels weird. You know, what do you mean by going to the gym regularly every couple of days and like actually showing up for yourself and getting strong? I've been getting strong. My muscles have been unknotting and unlocking. And I'll, explore that more in future videos, because it's going to the gym has become the key that is opening the doors that I'm walking through now. I added a gazebo to the picture because she needed it. She needed it to feel safe to breathe. And if you're going to howl, you've got to be able to take a big breath. So I put that in for her. Gave her some nice cooling shadows. And it feels rich. It feels rich. Like I could step into the gazebo with her, which I have. But I'm free to leave also, to step in and out. She's welcome and I'm welcome. And I think wow, maybe she's my oldest friend? Here, where you see me beginning, I've already done some watercolor layers and sprayed water and let it drip through the watercolor and the roses before I began with the brown fine liner that you can see me working with here. Unfortunately, I didn't record that process again because I've just begun this vlog and I bumped the microphone, and I didn't anticipate building a video for you, and so I will make sure that I capture all the layers for future videos. But again, for this one and the last one, there are a couple of layers that are just missing. So please enjoy. I'm going to speed up the process because, it's like an hour or so of footage all together. So sit back, maybe just put out a really gentle invitation to the main voice in your head to come in and enjoy this soft space with you, this really non-threatening soft space. And as I build this little gazebo space for my bitch, maybe you could think about how you could create a soft space for your main voice, that critical voice, so that you could be together and feel safe to be together. I'll see you at the end, darling. And anyway, so that, when I was saying about strength in vulnerability, appearing vulnerable in public, it feels terrifying. It means I can't be trusted to hold you through your darknesses. And that's kind of, that's what I do. And that would be devastating if I couldn't do that. But would it? Would it actually be devastating? And being incapable is a lie that I've told myself forever. I've never fully believed that I'm capable. It always feels like I'm pretending. Yeah. Imposter syndrome is something that I explore fairly frequently. Well, maybe, maybe I don't actually. That'll come too. Stick around, it'll come. Speaking of, if you like this kind of rambling stuff, this kind of exploration, this kind of, maybe it's giving you new ways to think about yourself, click like and maybe come back again. Holding space for other people is something that I am really, really good at, experienced with. I think that I'm really good at that because I've never felt like somebody could do that for me safely. Because if I let loose, I would flatten the universe. And so I create those spaces for other people because I don't want them to feel like they can't be fully inside all of that power that they've got going on in there that they hide. Because I want to be fully in my power that I hide. And so I'm a professional button pusher. I nudge you past the point that you normally think you can't go past until you crack. And that's when I celebrate, because you are about to do, be, say things you never thought to imagine that you could. And so my art processes hold me while I do those things. I trust them to hold me through all those things. So anyway, I was looking for guidance this morning, and I came into my office and picked up my tarot deck, and I pulled the Emperor card for the first time ever. I don't think I cannot recall ever pulling the Emperor card as a single, vibe check. And it felt so... It wasn't a feeling of validation, which I often have sought. Am I doing the right thing? That all that prevaricating, doubting of myself. It's interesting. I don't actually do that anymore. I am confident in what I do. But it's like this overlaying pattern tries to assert itself constantly. But it just doesn't fit anymore. And so when I drew the Emperor card, it was true. It wasn't a confirmation. It wasn't a validation. It was just true. I've done a lot of work the last few weeks with this art process. It like when you look at it, it feels pretty. It feels like, that's an art process. But it's so much more. It's not a quick, mindless splashing of paint on pages. It's thoughtful and meditative and healing. And so something has profoundly shifted in me for this Emperor energy to feel true. Rather than something that I aspire to, it feels accurate, an accurate reading of now. I feel solid and rooted and grounded and all of those things because I've let myself be vulnerable out loud in public. I hope you enjoy this process. I'll see you next time.